Florida, 1989. The humid air hung heavy, thick with the scent of approaching rain. Aileen Wuornos, her life a tattered tapestry of hardship and despair, picked up a John. Richard Mallory, a name that would forever be etched in the annals of true crime. He was her first. Mallory, a man with his own demons, embodied the darkness Aileen had come to expect from the world. The encounter, fueled by a potent cocktail of fear, rage and desperation, spiraled out of control. A struggle, gunshots, silence. Aileen, forever changed, disappeared into the Florida night. A killer was born. Her descent into depravity had begun. Her victims, men who moved through the world with a sense of entitlement, would become her prey. The highways of Florida became her hunting ground, truck stops and roadside diners her grim backdrop. Aileen, disguised beneath her veneer of normalcy, blended into the transient world she inhabited. She sought solace in the arms of Tyria Moore, a woman who offered the illusion of love and stability. Her victims, unsuspecting, fell prey to her deadly charade. David Spears, Charles Caskoden, Peter Seams, each man met a similar violent end. Their bodies, discarded along the desolate highways, bore silent witness to her escalating rage. The body count rose. Whispers of a female serial killer targeting men sent chills down the spines of law enforcement and terrified a nation. Aileen, fueled by a need for survival and hardened by the cruelty she encountered, remained elusive. Each murder offered a perverse sense of power, a twisted form of control in a life spiraling into chaos. Aileen's path to becoming a monster was paved with the shattered remnants of a brutal childhood. Abandoned by her mother, shuffled between uncaring relatives, she became acquainted with abuse at an early age. Sexual exploitation, physical violence, and relentless emotional neglect became her normal. She sought solace in the forests surrounding her Michigan home, finding solace in the company of animals. But the damage was done. The seeds of rage and distrust were sown deep within her soul. By the age of 11, she had traded her innocence for survival, engaging in prostitution to meet her basic needs. Her teenage years brought more pain. Pregnant at 14, ostracized by her community, she was left to navigate the complexities of motherhood alone. The loss of her child to adoption deepened her despair, fueling a sense of profound injustice that would fester for years to come. The investigation intensified. Law enforcement, under immense pressure to catch the elusive killer, began to connect the dots. The modus operandi was chillingly similar. The victims, all men, all found along Florida highways. Witnesses described a woman, her appearance changing with each account, but her piercing blue eyes remained a constant. Wanted posters bearing Aileen's image, her face a study in hardened features and haunted eyes, blanketed the state. The media frenzy reached fever pitch, painting her as a monstrous anomaly, a woman who defied societal expectations and challenged the very notion of feminine evil. Finally, in January 1991, the walls closed in. Apprehended at a biker bar in Daytona Beach, Aileen, exhausted and defeated, confessed to her crimes. Her voice, a chilling mix of defiance and vulnerability, sent shockwaves through the nation as she recounted the gruesome details of each murder. The trial became a media spectacle. Cameras swarmed the courtroom, hungry for a glimpse of the woman dubbed the Damsel of Death and the Highway Killer. Aileen, once a victim herself, was transformed into a monstrous caricature, her pain and humanity lost in the sensationalized headlines. Her attorneys, faced with overwhelming evidence and a public baying for blood, attempted to present a case for self-defense. They argued that Aileen, scarred by years of abuse and driven to desperation, had acted out of a primal need to survive in a world that had repeatedly victimized her. But the prosecution, skilled in weaving a narrative of cold-blooded premeditation, presented a compelling counter-argument. Aileen's confession, riddled with inconsistencies, was picked apart. Her claims of self-defense dismissed as the fabrications of a manipulative killer. Condemned by fate, the death penalty looms. The jury's verdict, delivered after days of deliberation and intense public scrutiny, was swift and decisive: guilty. Aileen Wuornos, her fate sealed, was sentenced to death. She became the 10th woman in the United States to be sent to death row. In the years that followed, appeals were filed and denied. Her mental state, a complex tapestry of trauma and personality disorders, became the subject of intense debate. Anti-death penalty activists rallied to her cause, arguing that the justice system had failed to recognize her as a victim of circumstance, a product of the very system that now condemned her. But public opinion remained largely unmoved. The image of Aileen as a remorseless killer, fueled by the media's relentless portrayal, proved difficult to erase. The legal system, bound by its own rigid protocols, offered little room for nuance or compassion. Justice served or a system's failure? A nation divided. Aileen Wuornos's case ignited a firestorm of debate about the death penalty, mental health, and the very nature of justice. Her story, a tragic confluence of abuse, societal neglect, and personal demons, forced the nation to confront uncomfortable truths about its own failings. Some argued that her execution was a necessary act of retribution, a way to bring closure to the families of her victims and to ensure that she could never harm again. Others saw her as a victim herself, a product of a broken system that had failed to protect her in life and had ultimately condemned her in death. The debate raged on, highlighting the deep divisions within American society regarding issues of crime, punishment, and the rights of the mentally ill. Aileen's case became a lightning rod for larger conversations about social responsibility, the complexities of human behavior, and the often blurred lines between victim and perpetrator. The Monster and the Victim, a Legacy of Pain. On October 9, 2002, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. Her last meal, a cup of coffee, remained untouched. Her final words, a rambling mix of defiance and delusion, offered little insight into the tormented soul that had captivated and repulsed a nation. In death as in life, Aileen remained an enigma. Was she a cold-blooded killer who deserved the ultimate punishment, or was she a deeply troubled woman driven to desperate acts by a lifetime of abuse and neglect? The answer, perhaps, lay somewhere in the shadows, lost in the tangled web of her traumatic past and the horrific choices she made. Aileen Wuornos's legacy is a complicated one, a stark reminder of the human capacity for both good and evil. Her story serves as a cautionary tale, a grim testament to the devastating consequences of abuse, societal indifference, and the enduring power of our own demons. Echoes of Aileen, reflections on a life erased. Years after her execution, Aileen Wuornos' story continues to fascinate and disturb. Her case, a chilling blend of true crime and social commentary, continues to generate debate and fuel our collective fascination with the dark side of human nature. Books, documentaries, and even a major motion picture have attempted to unravel the complexities of her life and crimes. But the true Aileen Wuornos, the woman behind the monster, remains an elusive figure, her voice silenced by the weight of her actions and the passage of time. In the end, perhaps the most haunting aspect of Aileen Wuornos' story is not the brutality of her crimes, but the tragic waste of a life that could have been different. Her story serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of the human psyche and the urgent need for compassion, understanding, and a system that protects the vulnerable instead of perpetuating cycles of abuse and despair.